It's a Friday morning as we roll into Father's Day weekend on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM, and happy to welcome on and say hello to Nick Haines, Kansas City Week in Review, airing tonight at 7:30. And Nick, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, Pete. And I hope your car wasn't vandalized overnight. I know I gave you yesterday when I saw you one of those sun shields to put on over your windscreen, and it's got the big Kansas City PBS logo on there. I hope people didn't vandalize the car because of that.
You know, you did give me one of those things, to keep the car cool. And as I said to Eric Weston when I walked out of there, I love Nick, but I'm not sure I can use this thing, to be totally honest. So that's pretty funny. No, I've got it. You know what? I wish your face was on it, because then people would respect it. They wouldn't just see the logo and get all out of whack and get nervous. If they saw your face, because people in this town, they trust you, Nick, regardless of what they think of our operations, they see you and they trust you. You are a trusted, respected voice in this community.
Well, thank you for that. Perhaps then for the 15th caller who calls in, they will be getting this luxurious item.
We've got Kenny Chesney tickets in 40 minutes, but I think what everybody wants is that Kansas City PBS windscreen for their cars to keep them cool this summer. I think you're right about that. Oh, gosh. Well, hey, can we go, speaking of Kenny Chesney at Arrowhead Stadium, is Kenny Chesney going to be playing Arrowhead Stadium in 10 years? That's the question right now.
Yes.
Where does this stack up in all your years of covering news in Kansas City? This stadium story is fascinating. How does it stack up in terms of all the local news stories you've done during your time here in town?
Well, let me tell you, and I've been doing the job that I've been doing for 28 years, doing that program, 25 years at the television station. What I find interesting, for me, it is huge because we do not much any longer have any common language when it comes to news. I could tell you about a news story, you probably never even seen it. We live in very narrow worlds in which we focus on specific things in our lives. And so really, the sports stadiums, the Royals and the Chiefs, are one of the very few things you can talk about with people other than the weather that everybody will understand. And so for that reason, it is big. And also because it's now looking with this effort to move the stadiums potentially to Kansas, that you've also got Kansas involved too. So when we do our jobs, Pete, half of your audience lives in Kansas, half in Missouri. If you talk about something in Missouri, Kansas folks tune out. If it's about Kansas, Missouri folks tune out. This is one of the very few issues that actually engages everyone in the community, and that's what makes this so big.
You're right, and it blends sports with news, with politics, with everybody's beloved teams, so there's a lot going on. So where do you think, Clark Hunt and Mark Donovan each spoke last night. The teams were at the Nelson Atkins Museum. I'll play the audio clip of Clark Hunt and get Nick Haynes' reaction to it here.
We're in a period right now where we're willing to talk to anybody. We're just looking for opportunities. And obviously there's a lot going on the Kansas side, and they have a vote coming up next week. So it's probably a little bit premature to talk about that option specifically, but we're open to options anywhere in the metropolitan area.
All right. What do you hear there reading between the lines from Clark Hunt, Nick Haynes?
Could you signal any less commitment? Can you signal less signing on the dotting line than that statement? It reminds me a little bit of a few weeks ago, if you remember Mayor Lucas outside of City Hall talking about what was happening with the cyber attack, and he talked and talked and talked, and you wondered, did he actually say anything? Did it reveal anything? Clearly, both teams are saying, well, this is interesting, but they're not saying, let's make a commitment here. And I do feel this is a little bit like what happened months and months ago with the stadium issue when North Kansas City was entered into the potential mix of sites for a new stadium. And, were they being played here?
Yeah.
And was this an opportunity for these teams now to say, hey, Missouri, you better get your act together, start offering us something big here. Otherwise, we're going to go somewhere else. Remember what the legislators will be voting on next week in Kansas is really not a plan per se. It is a funding tool. A funding tool is what they're talking about. We don't know half the details. Most of the lawmakers haven't even seen all the details yet and what is involved in this. There's no site that has been selected. All of this is about a funding tool. We're way we're a long way away from having a definitive plan here that anybody can get behind.
Do you think they're being played for fools a little bit on the Kansas side?
Well, let me just say, the attractive thing about this plan, let me just say, the only thing attractive to the Chiefs and Royals, particularly the Royals, is that if this were to come to fruition, it would not involve a public vote. And we have found out from behind the scenes that that's what John Sherman wants to avoid. And you heard it from Brian Platt, the city manager, also working on a potential plan that you can avoid going to voters altogether. That's what makes this plan attractive. You're not going to be getting all those groups the same way talking about community benefits agreements and all of this, because it's a very different type of plan necessary that bypasses voters altogether.
Yeah, Nick Haines is joining us. Kansas City PBS Week in Review airing tonight at 7:30 on KCMO Talk Radio. So now the next question, too, Nick, the other big topic this week that I know we covered with you and we'll be covering tonight is the plaza. And there's a report this morning from Tony's Kansas City that apparently even people on the city council don't understand and don't have any information on what a public-private partnership means for the plaza, working with this group out of Dallas, HP Village Partners. Do you know what it means? Yes. Do we have any insight as to what that means?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, we did a documentary on 100 years of the Country Club Plaza back in the fall. And so we were very much tied in, not me personally, but our other staffers, in putting that together, and they have been very tied to this. And what we have sort of learned from behind the scenes from people very close to this deal who want this to happen with this Dallas-based company coming in to take over the plaza that has already defaulted on paying back some of the money for owning the plaza, so it's that's going to have to change. But some of the things that is as part of this deal is that to allow other things to happen on the plaza, more housing, bigger vertical development on the plaza to make all of that work. And that has been fiercely fought in Kansas City. From those who are on the environmental front, the historic buildings front, people who are living in that area now, who are going to fight that tooth and nail. But that apparently is something that's been going on behind the scenes. There has been what they wanted to keep it as a low height development there that keeps its charm. But it is our understanding that the company that wants to come in wants to add other assets there. Again, housing, potentially more hotels that are going to change the look of the whole plaza. And that might be in the devil in the details here. That gets people indignant and upset about what may happen there.
So you're saying tax abatements and TIF money and things like that potentially on the table?
Tax abatements, TIF money, public-private partnership is more than just safety. It's about and more than just curbs and sidewalks and putting investments into infrastructure. It's going to require a little bit more work and a little more help from the city to make that happen. And again, some people will say, why are we doing that with all the problems we have in the city? Why are we funding what is the most upscale shopping center in the entire metropolitan area?
Well, it's weird, too, because this HP Village Partners, they own Highland Park Village down in Dallas, and it's basically a knockoff of the plaza. They don't have a lot of, high rises and things like that, but I guess they must have a different vision potentially for Kansas City.
Yes. The benefit of this company, though, of course, is to be able to attract certain stores, as they do have a track record. And some of the names they have there are actually at an even higher luxury level than we currently have on our own Country Club Plaza. Those are the names we used to have, not any longer. I think I joked on this week's program that perhaps we'll have Five Below and Dollar General competing for the Nordstrom space.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the retailers on the plaza you see in lots of other places, they're not special anymore. Certainly, the project that this company has been involved in Dallas does have many more of those luxury names that you don't see here in Kansas City. But you bringing to another point here, I mentioned the sports stadiums is a big deal because it's something, there's a common language here. The plaza is also a common language. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those few places that everybody's sort of, even if you don't go there all the time, about. And that's something that everybody has a care about, even if you don't live in Kansas City, Missouri itself.
Well said. Well, Nick, thanks for having me on, as always, on your show this week. It's always great to have you on KCMO Talk Radio. And It's going to be 90 degrees today, so I may have to break out the old visor there for the vehicle. We'll see how it looks from the parking lot. We appreciate it.
I'm still waiting for my KCMO talk radio swag. I would put one on there. All right.
Yeah, I may have a pencil for you one day, but, we don't have those PBS funds. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
All right. You're the man. Thank you very much. Nick Haines on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM, streaming, of course, on the KCMO Talk Radio app.